Hello there and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano, and our sign interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening. Ship sailing from Abu Dhabi runs aground in Hambantota. Health Minister contracts COVID-19. President says stock of COVID-19 vaccines will arrive in Sri Lanka on the 27th. More views on the East Container Terminal.
ලෝකෙ හොඳම කොටස් වෙළඳ පොළ තියෙන රටේ මේ දවස් කිහිපය තුල ලැබපු ලාභය මේ කර්තව්‍ය වෙනුවෙන් ආයෝජනය කරන්න.
While Sapugala farmers to continue Satyagraha until Wild Elephant Reserve is gazetted. Fast to death called off. Now on to one of your headline-making stories. A bulk carrier named MV Eurosun carrying cement to Trincomalee has run aground on Little Bases Reef today.
The vessel Eurosun, a bulk carrier sailing under the flag of Liberia, had run aground this afternoon. The ship was due to dock at the Trincomalee port at 2 this evening. 18 crew members were on board when the 180-meter-long vessel had run aground. Navy spokesperson Captain Indika De Silva, speaking to Newsfirst, said the Sri Lanka Navy dispatched 2 crafts to the location in order to assess the situation and to investigate if any damage was caused to the maritime environment at Little Bases Reef. He added that no oil spills or breaches in the ship's structure had been reported from the crew on board the vessel.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that the first batch of free COVID-19 vaccines provided to Sri Lanka from India will arrive in the island on the 27th of this month. The president was speaking at the Gama Samaga Pilisandara program held in Kalutara today.
Another phase of the Gama Samaga Pilisandara program was held in Yatapata Walawita in the Kalutara district. Area residents directly presented their problems to the president.
As this COVID issue came to Sri Lanka, a presidential task force was established and we were able to control this first wave successfully. Various countries in the world began their search for a vaccine, and today countries like America, England, China, Russia and India have produced some vaccines. We appointed Lalit Wiratunga to look into getting down a vaccine to Sri Lanka as soon as possible. He was very skillful in doing this. We wrote to the Prime Minister of India, the President of China and the Russian President. Then discussions were held with those countries to bring down this vaccine to Sri Lanka as soon as possible. On the 27th of this month, the first batch of vaccines will be sent to Sri Lanka from India. From the very next day, we will begin to administer this medicine to healthcare workers because they are the ones who work with the patients. The frontline healthcare workers, including doctors, PHI officers, nurses, will be vaccinated. Next are members of the army and police who are working very closely with them. After that, we will provide the vaccine to people who are most vulnerable to the virus, including senior citizens. In the meantime, we are also working on purchasing these vaccines from China, Russia and even India. Lalit Wiratunga is working with the health authorities to get these down. We will be able to give you the vaccine soon. We are doing all of these things in an orderly fashion.
ලබා දෙන්නට පුළුවන්. අපි මේ වගේ මේ හැම දෙයක්ම වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් ඇතුව අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරගෙන යන්නේ.
The president also spoke about the East Container Terminal.
දැන් රජයක් තිබිලා තව රජයකට එනකොට
Regardless of the political party in power, an agreement between two countries is considered as an agreement between the governments of those countries. Therefore, we cannot withdraw from such agreements abruptly. The withdrawal process must comply with due procedure. Likewise, there are certain matters that must continue after studying its context and identifying its benefits to our country. I expect all politicians to be honest when carrying out their duties. Politicians should not mislead the general public. A memorandum of understanding on the East Container Terminal was signed with India during the tenure of the former government. The agreement was signed in the presence of former Minister of Shipping Sagara Ratnayaka and several Indian representatives, withdrawing from all foreign agreements abruptly immediately after taking over as president will give a wrong impression to the international community. Everyone will presume that the Rajapaksas only enter into agreements with China. That is not good. We do not favor any country. We are an independent nation. We should not encourage such wrongs and misleading presumptions.
හැබැයි මේ වැරදි මත යන්න දෙන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
President Rajapaksa also spoke about the proposed investment plan for the East Container Terminal.
මොකද අපි දැන් කරන්නේ ආයෝජනයක් කරන ක්‍රමවේද. කාටවත් මේව දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි
There are only investments. We will not allow anyone to take ownership of these assets. We will form a company locally which will be registered in Sri Lanka. There are plenty of companies of this nature in Sri Lanka that work together with multinational companies. We will establish a company and list it on the stock exchange. 51% of its shareholding will belong to Sri Lanka's Port Authority. The remaining shareholding will be given to India, Japan and other local companies. If there are other interested entities in investing in the terminal, they too will be given the opportunity. This is the investment proposal we have put forward. Several Theros who supported me to come to power are against this move. I spoke to them and clarified this matter. I told them that they have the right to voice their concerns. I also discussed this matter with trade unions. We must develop the port while ensuring our sovereignty will not be threatened. Many are publicizing inaccurate opinions on this matter.
අපේ ස්වෛරීත්වය අපේ අයිතිය මේවා පිටරටට දෙන්නේ නැතුව කොහොමද ක්‍රමවේදය කියන එක. ඉතින් මේ මෙන්න මේ වගේ තත්ත්වයක් තමයි සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මේකට වැරදි මත බොහෝ අයගේ.
Now keeping up with top stories this evening, Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi has tested positive for COVID-19. Now according to the Ministry of Health, they said the minister has been directed to a COVID-19 treatment center in Hikkaduwa. We here at News First wish her a speedy recovery. Meanwhile, State Minister of COVID-19 Disease Control Sudarshan Fernandapille said that the COVID-19 vaccine manufactured in India will be given to those in the front line in the fight against COVID-19 from next week. Speaking to News First, the State Minister said trials for the COVID-19 inoculation program were conducted today.
State Minister Sudarshani Fernandopulle said inoculation program will begin after the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured by Serum Institute is brought to Sri Lanka this Wednesday. She added that within the next week, those in the health sector, the Triforces and the police will be inoculated along with other frontline workers. Trials of COVID-19 inoculation program were conducted today at 3 locations. The trials were held at the office of the Piliyandala Medical Officer of Health, the Regional Hospital and the Ragama Teaching Hospital.
These vaccines contain a COVID-19 virus that has been weakened. If the vaccine dosage is given in excess, this may cause the individual to contract the virus. Is the Covishield vaccine produced in India the same as the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine produced in the UK? Is the government willing to disclose such information to the public with the support of data and facts? The government says 600,000 vaccine doses will be brought down to Sri Lanka. The World Health Organization clearly said that 20% of Sri Lanka's population should be vaccinated. 20% of Sri Lanka's population amounts to 440,000 people. The inoculation of this entire group should be completed within a short period of time. If 2 doses must be given to each individual, we must bring down 880,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. The government is disregarding the advice of the World Health Organization. They are attempting to stage an act by showing to the world that Sri Lanka has begun the rollout of vaccines. 1 dose of vaccine costs $4, that is approximately 800 rupees. 2 doses will cost 1,600 rupees. Can the government bear this cost? The recent sugar scandal cost the government 6 billion rupees. The government lost billions of rupees in revenue due to such scams and frauds taking place in the country.
සීනි වංචාවෙන් පාඩුව බිලියන 6යි. හරි ඒ වගේ විශාල වංචා ප්‍රමාණයක් රට ඇතුළේ සිද්ධ වුණා. ඒවට බිලියන ගණන් නැති කරගත්තා.
Meanwhile, India has exported 2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to Brazil. According to foreign media, India has also exported 2 million doses of its vaccine to Morocco. The Made in India vaccine has also been exported to Mauritius, Seychelles, the Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh.
A threat to our freedom. Sovereignty under fire.
The national movement to protect the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port stressed that if the current administration of the ECT fails to run a profitable venture effectively, the management should be replaced by individuals better suited to hold those positions. Trade unions presented their proposals to the committee appointed by the cabinet to review proposals regarding the East Container Terminal. The proposals were handed over to the Secretary of the Ministry, UDC Jailal. He is the chairman of the committee appointed by the cabinet to review the proposals. The main proposals put forward by the trade unions include the government must accept the fact that they are only the temporary custodians of national assets and have no right to sell, lease or partially hand over any national asset. The East Container Terminal of the Colombo port continues to be operated by the government. The sale or lease of any other terminal should be done with the express consent of the public according to proper tender procedure and must not be done secretly behind closed doors. If the current administration of the ports are unable to run the operations profitably and effectively, they must be replaced by individuals better suited to hold those positions. The management of the port should cooperate with the port employees in managing the port similar to the operations conducted at the Singapore port.
We handed in this proposal based on the advice of the President. The faction that accepted the report must consider this report properly. This is not a proposal simply made by a group of trade unionists. This proposal was drafted by chartered engineers of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, executive officer of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, and trade unions that are responsible to 10,000 employees at the port.
දහදාහක් වූ සේවකයන්ට වග කියන වගකීමක් ඇති වෘත්තීය සමිති. මේකේ තියෙනවා plan දෙකක් තියෙනවා.
There are two plans here. One is a 2-year plan and the other is a 3-year plan. In the 2-year plan, we have pointed out that we need $125 million to develop this. Under the 3-year plan, we don't need any investor or any local bank to invest. We are carrying out operations at the East Container Terminal. We can work with the income we receive from the current operations and purchase 4 cranes from the budget that has been allocated to us.
හතරක් අරගෙන මේ යන්ත්‍රෝපකරණ ගන්නවා නම් මේක අපිට ඉක්මනින්ම කරලා ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්.
Meanwhile, chairman of the committee appointed by the cabinet to examine the proposal submitted with regard to the East Container Terminal, UDC Jailal said that the committee will meet next week. The committee will examine the proposal submitted by the trade unions and the memorandum of cooperation signed with India and Japan. This committee has already met 4 times. Meanwhile, port trade unions that have rallied to protect the East Container Terminal spoke about the threat faced by those engaged in the struggle to protect the ECT.
Now the administration has turned to oppress us. The Secretary of the General Employees Union has been transferred. Statements have been recorded from the Secretary of the Ports and Progressive Workers Union. Statements were recovered from the Chairman of the Engineers Union. We would like to ask the administration not to act like this. If you respond to us like this, we will change the course that we are currently on, and we too can respond appropriately. So do not push us there. We are only trying to do something good for this country and take the dollars that are coming from the ECT and give it to the treasury. We have no other motive.
Political factions, trade union representatives and media institutions are under a serious threat as India is trying to win this battle one way or the other. Cases might be filed in courts against the trade unions and media outlets that oppose the sale of the terminal. Factions opposing this sale might get hurt or even run over by vehicles. India's Research and Analysis Wing, more commonly known as RAW, is the world's leading intelligence agency. Handing over the East Container Terminal to India may lead to another civil war in our country. India will take over our ports and enter our country. They will create communal conflicts within Sri Lanka.
We are not aware of the legal background surrounding the sale of a 49% stake of the East Container Terminal to India's Adani Group. Such a move may be a threat to Sri Lanka's sovereignty. Weapons can be brought into our country. This will be a threat to our national security. If the terminal is sold to the Adani Group, Indian nationals will be recruited to the port. This will negatively affect the development and employment of our youth. Selling the terminal to India will pave the way for racketeers and underworld criminals to enter our country. For instance, most of the employees working at the port city are Chinese nationals. These Chinese nationals have been imprisoned for crimes committed in their country. Prisoners have been brought down to work at the port city. Isn't it obvious that India will do the same thing? Everyone knows that I lost the ministerial position on petroleum resources development for speaking out against the sale of the Trincomalee tank complex and opposing the distribution of Sri Lanka's natural gases. Right now, I would like to say that as the government, we have given a pledge to the people and promised them that we will protect what is ours. We must act according to that promise. We must be aware of who the investor is, whether the reason for the investment is a political one or an economic one, or an attempt to take part in the global power struggle. If 600,000 Sri Lankans invest $1,000 each, we will be able to collect this 600 million. There are at least 1.6 million Sri Lankans who are residents abroad. Sri Lanka has the world's second best share market. I saw that within the past 2 days, the shares belonging to a certain businessman increased by billions. I request the government to find out whether this project made at the world's best share market can be invested for this project.
මේ කර්තව්‍ය වෙනුවෙන් ආයෝජනය කරන්න හැකියාවක් තියනවාද කියන එක හොයලා බලන්න කියලා මම රජයෙන් ඉල්ලා හිටිමු.
Over 500,000 square kilometers of ocean territory, an exclusive economic zone that has attracted the attention of the entire world. Over 8 times the size of our land mass. The time has come for all Sri Lankans to stand up and defend what is ours. We must call it what it is.
The Sea of Sri Lanka. News First. The truth as it is.
What you just witnessed were sensitive visuals of a child supporting his father, who is a farmer, taking part in the Fast Unto Death campaign carried out by the Valsapugala farmers, demanding the proposed wild elephant management reserve in Hambantota be included in the government gazette. Meanwhile, after discussions held today, it was decided the Fast Unto Death campaign be temporarily halted and the Satyagraha be continued further.
Minister Chamar Rajpaksha visited Suryavava, Hambantota this morning to inquire into the issues faced by farmers. After engaging in discussions with government officials as well as local politicians, Minister Chamar Rajpaksha visited the area where the fast was being staged.
මේ අනවසරයෙන් වගා කරන අය උද්ඝෝෂණය කරනෝනේ දෝෂර වලට පයින් හදනවා අර ඒවත් නවත් එකක් මේ මයිනේ අනේ සර් ඒක
අපිට අනවසර වගා බිම් ටික අයින් කළා අර වන සතුන්ට වන කැලේ දීලා ඒ නිසා අපි කියන්නේ අපි මේ පුංචි දරුවොත් එක්ක අපි මේක ජීවත් වෙන්න. ඉතර වෙලා කිව්වේ මගුලමනේ. ඒක තමයි අමතිතුමනි අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ. අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ ඒකට වගා ටික අයින් කරලා සතුන්ට භූමිය බාර දෙන්න. සතුන්ට දෙනවා. මිනිස්සුන්ට දෙනවා ඒකට බෑ අමතිතුමනි අපිට දිනයක් දෙන්න. ඔය මම දෙන්නම සතුන්. ඒ නිසා අපි ඒගොල්ලොන්ට අපි සතුන් නිසා තමයි අපිට ඇමතිතුමනි මේ ටික වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මෙච්චර දැන් දවස් ගානක් අපි මෙච්චරම ඉවසපු නිසා තමයි අපිට අපි කිව්වේ අමතිතුමනි ජනාධිපතිතුමනි මෙතෙන්ට එන්නේ. ඔබතුමාලට 69 ලක්ෂයක් ඡන්දෙ දීලා අපි පත් කරගත්ත ඕකටද කියලා අපි අහන්නේ. යන්නේ. විහිළුවකට ගන්න එපා.
අටත් පයියෙන් කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් අනවශ්‍ය කතා එපා. පස්සේ කස්සර දාන්න බෑ. මොකද මේ මිනිස්සු මැරෙන්න දෙන්න බෑ. මොකද හේතුව අපි නායකයෙක් එකපාර මේ විතර කරන්න බැරුණ නැතේ. දැන් අපි ඒක නතර කරලා දෙන්න.
තවත් මැරෙනවා. පින්නන්නේ ඒ ටික වෙන්න කලින්.
මම කිව්වන් පස්සේ ආයෙ තවත් මම දන්නේ නැහැ. පිළිගන්නවද නැද්ද කියලා. අයි මේ ගියා අවුරුදු 5 කෑ ගැව්වේ නැත්තේ. අපි කෑ ගැව්වා
ඡන්ද කාලේට විතරයිනේ කවුරුත් ළඟට එන්නේ. සීනිවල නොතර වෙලා නෑ නේ මුතුමා ගැසට් එක ගහන්න. ගැසට් කරන්න සමහර ඒවා තියෙනවා හදිසිය දැන් හැන්දෑවේ කතා කරා. ඒව මට අදාළ නැහැ. ඒකයි අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ මේ. ඒවයි මේකයි වෙනස් නෑ. අපිට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අදාළ නැහැ. මුතුමා අපිට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අදාළ කියලා තියෙන්නේ.
අනිත් කට්ටිය යන්න එපා.
ඒක හරි. කිව්වලට බෑලා ඕක නතර කරා. ඒ ආයතන කාලයක් තිස්සේ අවුරුදු දෙකමාරක් විතර තිස්සේ මේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යනවා.
මේ 2020 අවුරුද්දේදී විතරක් මිනිස්සු 16 දෙනෙක් මේ හම්බන්තොට මරණවල පස්සට අතිගරු චමල රාජපක්ෂ උතුමාණනි නමස්කාර කරලා කියන්නේ මේකේ කැසට් එක දෙන්නේ කවද්ද කියලා නිශ්චිත දිනයක් දුන්නොත් නැත්නම් මම මෙතන මරණවන්නේ කියලා.
මේක මේ අපි දවස් එක්කෙනෙකුට දෙන්නෙකුට කරන්න බැරි වැඩක්. මූලික වැඩ ටික කරලා ඉවරයි. විදේශ අඳුනාගෙන ඉවරයි, රෙගුලාසි අඳුනාගෙන ඉවරයි. අපි ඒ ටික නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ අවසරය ලැබිච්ච ගමන් මේක මම ජනාධිපතිතුමාට විශේෂයෙන් කියන්න කතා කරගන්න කියලා. ඒකට අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙන්න. මට දෙන්න මාසයක් අන්. එහෙනම් මේ පයින්දරයක් විතරනවා. දැන් මාසෙන් එහෙනම් අපි ආයෙත් පටන් ගමු.
අපි අවසාන වතාවටත් මේ කාන්තාවට අහුම්කම් දෙමු. ඔය මාරාන්තික උපවාසය අපි නවත්වමු. හැබැයි මාසේ අවසාන වෙනකොට යම් ප්‍රතිඵලයක් නැත්නම් තේරුමක් නැහැ. එදාට ආපහු මමත් එනවා මම. ආමතුලත් එක්ක අපි කවුරුත්
මාසේ දිනය තමයි පෙබරවාරි 23. එහෙම කරන්න අපි ලබන සුමාන විතර වෙනකොට අර හදපු රෙගුලාසි ටික නීතිපතිට යවනවා. මම ඒකේ කොපියක් මෙහාට එවන්නම්. ඊට පස්සේ අපි නීතිපතිත් එක්ක ඉක්මන් කරගන්නවා.
Meanwhile, Minister Chamal Rajapaksa, addressing the Tissa Maharama Electoral Council meeting of the Sri Lanka Padujana Peramana today, expressed his views regarding the ongoing fast. A fast is being held in Suryavava. It is a fast unto death. Behind this fast are many factions and organizations. I would like to state at this moment that certain media outlets are giving more publicity to this and provoking such factions. We must protect the locals and the elephants. This matter should be discussed and regulations to address this matter should be gazetted. As people of Giruwa Pattua who live under this dry weather condition, we have a bigger responsibility. One of the locals taking part in this fast is the chairman of one of our committees. That is all right. However, one must understand what they are doing. I told them to stop and they did.
To find the fault is easy. To do better may be difficult. Louis Nizer.
A Satyagraha campaign against illegal sand mining was staged opposite the Suduwala temple in Madampe this morning.
Residents of 10 villages including Madampe, Suduwala, Henapola, Pothuvila and Mugunuvatavana staged a protest against illegal sand mining. The protesters pointed out that illegal sand mining in the area has contaminated their water sources.
If the authorities do not provide a solution to this problem within the next 2 days, we will stage a fast unto death.
We do not have water to drink. We have been buying bottled water since we don't have access to clean water. after the sand mining began here. We have informed all the relevant authorities. The only person left to speak to is God. We don't drink this water. We had clean water before. We never had to pay for bottled water before this.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned with News First for more news tonight.
Struggling to find reliable plumbers, electricians, gardeners and other service providers? Bellboys got you covered.
Welcome back to the news. The 4 corpses of fishermen of the sunken Indian fishing trawler who had died on the 18th were handed over to the Indian Coast Guard.
A Newsfirst team visited the area to investigate the accident that took place in the Sri Lankan waters northwest of the Delft island. Meanwhile, Navy media spokesperson Indika De Silva said that the bodies were handed over at 10:30 am today. The post-mortem examinations of the bodies were conducted yesterday at the Jaffna Teaching Hospital. It was confirmed that they had died due to drowning. The bodies were taken to Kotepattinam in India at around 3 p.m. today after being handed over to the Indian Coast Guard. Meanwhile, the protest organised by the Paman Tamil Nadu Fishermen's Association in Kachathil in response to this matter has been temporarily suspended. However, according to a survey commissioned by the National Aquatic Resource Agency in 2018 and supported by the Norway's Institute of Marine Research, showed a plummeting of the fish stocks to around 53,000 tons. In the last fishery stock survey carried out from 1978 to 1980, it was estimated that fish resources at the seabed level were likely between 250,000 and 350,000 tons.
Now, upon the appointment of a 3-member commission to probe human rights violations by the President yesterday, Amnesty International South Asia has raised concerns regarding its effectiveness. Upon appointing the commission yesterday, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that the government's policy is to work with the United Nations and its agencies to achieve accountability and human resource development for achieving sustainable peace and reconciliation. Meanwhile, a prominent Sri Lankan anthropologist, Dr. Maitri De Silva, has passed away yesterday. She was 57 years of age at the time of her demise.
Dr. Malanthi De Alvis earned her PhD in Sociocultural Anthropology from the University of Chicago, where she was a founding member of the Women Against War Coalition and a winner of the Ruth Murray Memorial Prize for Best Essay in Gender Studies. De Alvis was a senior research fellow at the International Center for Ethnic Studies in Colombo. She also taught as a visiting professor at the New School in New York City. She has also taught in the MA program in Women's Studies at the Faculty of Graduate Studies, University of Colombo. She wrote about issues such as militarized sexual violence and the memorialization of grief.
And with that, we wrap up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log out to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team on Devi Paldana, take care and good night.